Hi guys, today we're going to be making these headbands here, which I think turned out really nice. You can make it in any size that you'd like. So you can make it for an adult, you can make it for a child. I do include some sizing information in the video, so you're able to make it for all sizes. You can also use any yarn that you'd like. You can use any yarn weight that you'd like. It's all done by sizing, so whatever you'd like to do, that will work out just fine. So for this blue headband here, I'll just move these out of the way. I used this Kobu yarn, and Kobu is a DK or a 3 weight, and it's 51% cotton and 49% rayon from bamboo. And the color that I used is ice blue. And for this one here, I will insert a picture. It's called Tencel Bamboo, and it's by Go Handmade, and I actually got it from Hobby, and it's a sport weight or a size 2 yarn, and it is a 60% bamboo and 40% Tencel yarn, and I used the color Old Rose. So I just wanted to switch up the yarns and sizes and all that kind of thing, just so you can see that you really can make this headband your own in whatever size you'd like and in whatever yarn you would like. I do like using either a cotton or a bamboo yarn just because it's a little bit cooler, so if you're wearing it over the summer, it won't make your head quite so hot. But again, an acrylic will work just fine, a size 4, a size 3, whatever you'd like. And for the yarn hook that I used an F or a 3.75 millimeter hook. I also used a pair of scissors and a yarn needle to sew the headband up, and I also used a tape measure here just to make sure that I was getting my sizing right. So I think that's everything, and we can go ahead and get started on making these nice headbands. So to get started, we're going to start with a slip knot on our hook. And we can insert our hook and pull it tight, and we can begin. So for my blue headband, I'm going to start with a chain of 21, and for the smaller headband here, I started with a chain of 15, but you can start with any chain that's a multiple of 3 plus 1, and then we're going to add 2 additional chains just for the foundation chain. So what I mean by that is you want to get to a number that's a multiple of 3. So for this one here, that number is 18, and then I added 1 additional chain to that number, which gets me to 19, and then I added an additional 2 just for that foundation chain, which got me to 21. So you can start with any chain that's a multiple of 3 plus 1, and then you add an additional 2 chains for the foundation chain. So I'm going to go ahead and chain 21, 2, 3, 4, and as soon as I have my chain of 21, I will come back and we will go on to row 2 together. So once you have your chain of 21 complete, or whichever amount you came up with, into the 3rd chain from the hook, so remember the loop on your hook doesn't count as anything, we count back 3, 1, 2, 3, and into that 3rd chain we're going to do a half double crochet and a double crochet into that same chain. And those 2 chains that we skipped will actually work as a single crochet, but you don't need to worry too much about that right now. So from here, we're going to again skip 2 chains. So skip, skip, and into that next chain, we're going to do a single crochet. Oops. A half double crochet and a double crochet all into that same chain. And again, we skip 2 chains, so skip, skip, and into that next chain, we do a single crochet, a half double crochet, and a double crochet all into the same chain. And that's going to be the pattern for the length of the chain. It's skip 2 chains, skip, skip, and into that next chain, we do a single crochet, a half double crochet, and a double crochet all into the same chain. So I'm just going to keep working my way across the chain, skipping 2 chains and doing a single, a half double, and a double crochet all into that next chain. And when I make it to my final 3 chains here, I will come back and we'll finish up round 1 and go on to round 2 together. I'm just coming to the end of row 1 here, and I have 3 chains remaining. So I just completed my final set of those 3 stitches, the single crochet, the half double crochet, and the double crochet. And again, we're going to skip the next 2 chains, and into that final chain here, we're just going to do a single crochet. We're always going to be ending the rows with a single crochet only. So from here, I'll chain 1, I'm going to turn my work, and into that very first stitch here, right at the beginning, we'll do a single crochet, a half double crochet, and a double crochet all into that first stitch. So we're always starting the rows with the set of those 3 stitches, and we're always ending the rows with just a single crochet. So from here, we're going to again skip 2 stitches and into that next stitch, which is the single crochet from the previous row. So we're skipping that double, skipping that half double, and into that single crochet, we're going to do again a single crochet, half double crochet, and a double crochet. And again, we'll skip 2 stitches, skip, skip, and into that next one, always making sure it's the single crochet from the previous row. We'll do the same of a single, a half double, and a double. So I'm just going to work my way along row 2, skipping 2 stitches, skip, skip, and doing the set of those 3 stitches into the next stitch. And when I make it to the end of row 2 here, to the final couple of stitches, I'll come back on and we'll finish up row 2 together and go on to row 3. Okay, I'm just coming to the end of row 2 here, and I have 3 stitches remaining, and that's keeping in mind that this chain 2 here that we skipped at the beginning is counting as a single crochet. So again, we're going to skip the next 2 stitches, and into the top of that chain 2, we're going to do our single crochet. And from here, I'm going to chain 1 and turn my work. And we're just going to keep repeating the same thing of into that first stitch, we do our single crochet, our half double crochet, and our double crochet all into that same stitch, skipping 2 stitches, skip, skip, and into that next stitch, which will always be the single crochet from the previous row. We again do our single crochet, half double crochet, and double crochet into the same stitch. And I'm just going to keep working the same pattern till I get to the end, and only doing the single crochet into that final stitch, chaining 1, turning your work, and repeating that pattern. And I'm just going to keep working that up until I have my main piece as long as I would like it. So I will insert a picture now that shows some different sizing recommendations, but you can also do a measurement of your head of where you'd like the headband to sit. So kind of from the back of your neck up to the top of your head. And you want to work up a main piece that's measurement comes to 2 inches less than the measurement you take of your head, and that's after giving it a little stretch. When I come back after my big piece is complete, you will see all this information a little bit better. I will measure out the piece and you'll see me give it a stretch and all that kind of thing. So for me, I know that I want to do a total of 82 rows, and that will get me to the measurement that I need. And with this headband here, I actually did 88 rows because it's a smaller yarn. I had to do a couple more rows to get it the length that I would like. But you just keep working up this pattern until you have a long piece that will work for the size that you would like. And I will have mine ready to go in just a second here, and we'll go on to the next step together. So I just got done my 82nd row. So you should have a long panel that looks like this. And before I measure it, just to make sure it's the right length, I'm going to give it a stretch. So I'm just grabbing both ends and kind of stretching it out. I'm not pulling too hard, but just giving it a decent stretch. And then I will give it a measure. And I have a head measurement of 22.5 inches. So I'd like my headband to be 2 inches less in length, which is 20.5 inches. So I will bring in my measuring tape here and we'll just give it a measure. And that brings me right around 20.5 inches, so that'll be perfect for me. But for your headband, just make sure it's around 2 inches less than the original measurement that you took. So from here, we're going to fasten off, and I'm actually going to use this yarn to sew up the ends. So you want to leave a decent amount there to sew. So I'll just get my hook back in here. And I've already chained 1, so I'll just show you that part. So I just completed my final single crochet there. I will chain 1, and I'm going to cut my yarn, again leaving a decent amount to sew. And I will pull that yarn through, and we're fastened off. So at this point, we're going to fold up the ends of the headband here, and it's very easy to do. So I'm just going to take both ends of this headband and I'm going to fold them together like so. Take this end as well, fold it together, and I'll just hold it like so. And I'm going to move those 2 ends towards each other so they kind of interlock. forming a Z there. I'll just get that tail out of the way so you can see a little bit easier. So again, folding the two ends together and moving them towards each other so they kind of interlock like so, and then I'm just going to put it all together, and we're actually going to sew all of these four sides here together. So I'm going to bring in my yarn needle and we will start on the sewing, but I'm actually going to flip this around just because this is the yarn here that I'm using. That's my original tail over there. This is the yarn I'm going to use to sew, so I will just flip this around so I can use this tail to sew. And we will bring in our yarn needle here and get that attached. This is actually something you could have done before holding it together, so I'll just let that go and get my yarn needle attached. There we go. And get these all lined up again. And this part, it really does not need to be perfect. Like if you know, miss a stitch or go under a stitch or anything like that, it's not going to mess up that final overlap look when you turn it right side out. So don't stress too much, but let's go ahead and I'll bring the camera in a little bit and we will get this all sewn up. Okay, I'm all ready to sew these together. So the stitch that the yarn is coming out of, I'm just going to go through that first stitch like so, and then I will grab the stitch furthest on the right on that next row here. I will just grab one from here and then grab one from that third row and then in the final row. And again, just doing the best you can. Do not stress too much. Just try to get it through all four panels as even as you can, working back and forth. So I'll pull that yarn through all four. And then I will come back. So I'll start on that next stitch over on the one furthest away. I'll grab a stitch from that one. And one from that next. And just work my way across, grabbing a stitch from all four of these rows, and I'll pull it back through this way. And that is the process to get this sewn up. So again, I'll move on to the next stitch next to that stitch the yarn is coming out of, and I will grab that stitch, grab the next stitch on the next row, and the next stitch on the third row, and one from that final row, and just getting it as even as you possibly can, and pull it through. Even if you weren't exact in getting those stitches and just kind of went back and forth a bunch, it will still be completely fine. So really don't let this part stress you out. But I'm just going to keep working my way across here, just grabbing a stitch from each row as I work my way across. Until it's all sewn up. And when I make my way to the other side here, let's get it a little more focused, I will come back and we will get everything, all the yarn ends sewn in, and we'll get your get our headbands put right side out and we'll see how it all looks. All right, I'm just coming to the end here. Only have a couple more to go. Just making sure to grab all 4 of those sides. And I'll come back one more time from this side. So making sure to grab the final stitch here on this end. And it gets a little harder to make sure you're grabbing all 4 of those panels coming back, but just do your best to grab a stitch from each of the 4. And the final one on this side, like so. And I will pull that yarn through, like so. And I'm going to cut this yarn a little bit shorter from here, just because I don't need all that length at this point. And I'm actually going to tie these 2 ends together. Just into a knot to make sure it doesn't ever come unraveled. Actually, I will do a double knot. And then I'm going to insert my yarn needle here onto each one of these tails, and I will just go ahead and get those sewn in. Like so, and I'll just flip it. And I'm just going to sew it along the top here. You can kind of double check and see if you dropped any stitches at this point, if a certain part isn't attached the way you'd like, and you can kind of go back over it and make sure that it's all attached good. But I'll just kind of work my way back and forth here, making sure these ends are sewn in properly. So nothing will come undone. And you can't go wrong with this part because you're not even going to see it. It will look all nice once you flip it back. And I'm actually going to go through, you can see this end here is kind of out a little bit, so I will actually go through there just to make sure it's staying together good, like so. And I'll tie a knot at this point. So what I do is go through the stitches and hold on to that loop so it doesn't get pulled through all the way, and then pull the yarn through, making sure to hold on to that loop. And then if you bring your yarn needle back through that loop, like so, and pull it through, that actually creates a knot. So I think that's good here. I'll just go ahead and cut my yarn. And I'll get this end sewn in as well. And as soon as I'm all done that, I'll come back on and we will flip our headband right side out and we'll see how it all looks. Okay, I just got all my ends sewn in and cut all of the ends. And at this point, we're going to turn our headband right side out. And you can see how when you do that, you can kind of give everything a tug so it's sitting how you like it. You can see it gives it that kind of interlocking pattern there. and you even notice it more when you give it a little stretch, which is what it'll be when you're wearing it. So I think that looks really nice, and I hope that you're happy with the way that your headband turned out. And I really do appreciate you watching my video, and I'll see you in the next one.